Hi there, welcome to Teaching Them. I'm Michael Keens. I have a lesson for you today. It's called Capture Every Thought, and it's about the importance of guarding our mind from the thoughts that come in there. We're going to teach the kids through the use of a game. Maybe you've seen this game before. It's called Othello in some areas of the world. It's called Reversi as well. And so either of those is the same game. And it's played with these pieces that are usually black and white. It has a dark colored side and a light colored side. So each piece is two-sided. And so you place the pieces on the board. There are 64 squares. You place them on the board and you try to get the most, by the end of the game, you try to get the most pieces on your color. So that's what we're going to use to demonstrate to the kids this lesson. I think it'll make it very sticky for them and they'll remember it for a long time. So let me jump in and I'll go ahead and run the lesson. Hey kids, welcome. Hey, how many of you ever have bad thoughts? I mean the kind of thoughts that are like, I'm afraid, or I'm worried, or I'm stressed, or I feel very sad, or I'm angry, or I'm jealous, or I'm envious. You know, actually, not all of these emotions are bad. They actually can be very good, and they're natural to have a lot of those emotions. You just don't want to have them for long periods of time when, like, sad or angry or even jealous. You just don't want to be feeling those for a long period of time. That's when they turn into bad thoughts. And so there can also be bad thoughts like, I wonder what would happen if I punch somebody in the mouth. Sometimes we have these thoughts that just come to us and we're like, where did that come from? That was a terrible thought. I'm not the kind of person who punched somebody in the mouth, but sometimes those thoughts come. Well, I got to tell you, your mind is actually a battlefield between God and Satan. And God wants to fill your mind full of good and helpful thoughts, thoughts that will actually bless you and bless others and honor Him as your creator. But Satan hates God. And Satan wants to hurt God, but God is not really hurtable. You can't hurt God in terms of He's all powerful and He's all knowing. So even if you threw a punch at God, He would know that punch was coming. So you just can't go that way. So here's what Satan does. Satan hurts the Creator God through His creation. And by His creation, I mean us. We're target number one. That He can hurt God because God loves us so much. And He hates to see us in pain. And He hates to see us deceived. But Satan will use us against God to hurt Him. And Satan also hates that we were created in the image of God. He looks at the image of God and he just hates it. So he's going to try to win this battle. And he does it primarily through thoughts. He likes to get inside our brains. And I hope that's not a scary thought to you, that Satan can put thoughts into your mind. It's just the way that things are, that bad thoughts can come to you. But I'm going to teach you how to fight against them, because your mind is the greatest battlefield that we'll ever have in this war between God and Satan. And we want to join God in the war, and we want to be on the good side. So there was a guy named Paul, and Paul was a friend of Jesus. He didn't actually know Jesus while Jesus was here on earth, but he met Jesus shortly thereafter. He met Him on the road to Damascus, and he became very good friends with Jesus and a follower of Jesus, and he loved Jesus with all his heart. And he would travel all around, and he would write letters to the people that he had visited in different places, and he would say, hey, listen, I'm not there anymore, but I still want to say some things to you. And so he had gone to this one place called Corinth. And so he wrote them a couple letters, and we have them in the Bible, and maybe he even wrote them more letters that we don't have in the Bible. But we have this letter, which is 2 Corinthians, and it's it's chapter 10, verses 3 through 5. Teachers, by the way, you could get a volunteer to read this. You don't have to read it yourself. Okay, so here's what it says. It says, for though we walk in the flesh, meaning we're human beings, we're not spirit beings, for though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh, meaning we're not fighting a physical war, is what he's saying. For the weapons of our warfare are not the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. Now, what does he mean by stronghold? A stronghold, in this way of using it, a stronghold in any way of using it is a strong place. It's a military has a strong hold on something if they've got a lot of army there, if they've got a lot of weapons there, if they've got strong walls, then they have a strong hold on that place and the enemy can't get it away from them. So a stronghold's neither good or bad. God has strongholds, Satan has strongholds, and there have been strongholds all through time when people go to war. So, but in this case, Paul's talking about something different. He's talking about a stronghold that's in your mind. And what he means by this is he means a way of thinking, a pattern of thought, a regular habit of thinking in a certain way. So here's what he says. I'm going to start back at the beginning. For though we walk in the flesh, in physical bodies, we're not waging war according to the flesh, not with our physical bodies. For the weapons of our warfare are not our flesh, but have divine power, meaning power from God, to destroy strongholds, and by that he means patterns of thought. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion. So those are thinking, right? An argument is a thought. Sometimes people will say it out loud, but it starts as a thought. And then every lofty opinion. Opinions start in the brain. They start in your mind. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God. So what he's saying is there are thoughts out there that lie about God. And they say things that are not true about him, and people believe them. And he says we have to fight against those. So we destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ. Christ is Jesus. Christ means Savior. So we take every thought captive to obey Christ. So what does he mean? How do you take every thought captive? Well, here's how I think he means to do it. When he says take a thought captive, it's like you have a bad thought. You're like, oh gosh, I want to cheat on this test. That's a bad thought. You can be pretty certain that did not come from God. But here's the test. If you're not sure, then you say, Jesus, I just had this weird thought. What do you think of it? And then you allow Jesus to tell you whether or not that's a good or bad thought. And if he says that's a bad thought, you got to get rid of it. And the way that I like to get rid of it is I say to myself, that's not true. That is not true. Sometimes I exaggerate. Sometimes I say it out loud. Sometimes I say it in my brain because I'm out with people and I don't want people looking at me. But what I usually say is, no, that's not true. Because if I can make it seem ridiculous, then I won't believe it. I got to make sure my brain doesn't believe it, because the more times my brain believes a thought, it starts to develop that stronghold, that pattern of thinking. And if I accept lies from Satan when they come in, and I don't challenge them and take them before Jesus and say, is this true? Then they can become patterns of thought in my brain. And then pretty soon I'm thinking that way all the time. And I've seen this with people. I've seen it. Maybe some that are a little older than you, but it happens a lot with teenagers where they're like, oh, I'm such a loser. What? You are not a loser. Don't say that. That's a lie from Satan. Or, man, I can never get anything right. That's not true. You get things right all the time. Don't say that. I'm such a dummy. That's not true. That's not true. So what you do is you say, that's not true. And then you say, Jesus, what is true? What should I be believing instead of what I just heard? And then God will lead you to the truth. He'll tell you something. He may show you in the Bible something that's true, but he'll give you a truth that you can replace that lie with. So it's important to fight this war. We got to fight with God. God is fighting against Satan, and we've got to join him in the battle. And that means that we've got to take responsibility for our thinking. And anytime we have a bad thought, we got to go, Jesus, is that true? Is not? Oh, that's not true. And Jesus, what do you want me to believe instead? And then we replace it. So we're going to play a game. I'm going to call it Capture Every Thought. Because I want it to remind you that it's important to capture these thoughts. And so the game is really just a reminder that capturing thoughts is really important. And so I don't know if you've ever seen this game before. Sometimes it's called Othello, sometimes it's called Reversi, but it's played on this green board. And we're going to say this green board represents your mind. This is your mind right here. And in your mind on this board, you have 64 spaces. And then I'm going to have two people come up, and each person's going to get a couple stacks of these pieces. And the pieces actually have a black side and a white side. So you can flip them over because that's the way the game is going to be played. And so you place the pieces on these 64 spaces. And the idea is to have more of your color showing at the end of the game. When play stops, you count them up, and whoever has the most wins. Okay? So I'll need two volunteers. Come on up. Okay? And then you're going to be, I would say to the volunteers, you're going to be the black pieces. And the black pieces in this case are going to represent the bad thoughts. Thoughts that are coming from Satan that don't belong. So you're going to be the bad thoughts. Sorry about that, but thank you for being a good sport. And then to the other person, I would say, and you're going to be the white thoughts. And the white thoughts are the thoughts that are coming from God. And so you're going to represent those. Now, a rule of the game is that you have to play on these middle four squares first. Those have to be filled in before you can do anything else. So let's do that. So, black goes first. So black goes here, says there, I'll take that one. White says, all right, I'll take that one. Black says, I'll go over here, and I'll say, nope, 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 you can't do that. You have to play on these four squares. So black says, oh, okay, I'll go there then. And then white says, I'll go there. Okay, so that's how every game has to start, is those four spaces have to be filled up. And so after that, the rule is that you can only play in a place that allows you to capture another person's piece. And capturing the other person's piece, at least one of their pieces, could be multiple. Capturing the other person's piece means that you have to surround it. So, for example, let's say that it's black's turn. Black cannot play here because they don't have another piece on this side of the whites. They could play here because now they got a piece here and a piece here. And then here's the cool part. Once they capture it, they get to flip it. So this would be like Satan capturing a good thought and making it into a bad thought. And if you need an example of that, maybe let's say here's an example of how Satan could turn a good thought into a bad thought. You get invited to a birthday party. And you're so excited, and you go home and you tell your mom and you're excited about that. And then a friend calls and she's like, hey, I heard you were invited to that party. And maybe they're a little jealous. And they say, you know what, I heard in the lunchroom, the only reason she invited you is because she's going to make fun of you with all of her friends. Now that may be totally false, could be false. A lot of times Satan's lies are totally false. But it gets something thinking in you, and you're like, when you were like, I'm so excited to go to the party. But now, oh no, I'm afraid because maybe they are going to make fun of me. Maybe they don't really like me at all, and they just invited me because they had to. That could be the way that Satan could take a good thought and turn it into a bad thought. So then white's turn. White has to go someplace to capture at least one black. So I only see three places. White could go here, here, or here. So I'm going to go here. Good strategy is because now I'm touching two black pieces. So I might get a chance to steal this one next. So I'm going to flip that piece there. Now black is going to say, all right, well then I'm going to take, let's see, what are they going to take? They're going to take this piece right here and flip it. I'm going to turn it back into a bad thought. All right, well white says, all right, you did that. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take this piece right here and flip it. And then black says, all right, you did that. What could I do next? I could go here and flip that one. So I think you're kind of getting the idea. Here's how it would play. So teachers, I would let the kids play it out in front of the rest of the kids. Now, if you have multiple boards, that's great. Give boards to as many kids as you can, or give it to small groups and let them take turns. That's even better than what I'm demonstrating here. But I'm just thinking that it may be expensive to try to do that. And so if you only have one board, invite two people up to the front. Let them play a full game, but let them play it at a speed that people can watch and see what's happening, and so that they can see the strategy. And then if you have time, then invite another two volunteers up to come and do it again. And so point out the things that are happening. So I think, is it black's turn? I've totally lost track. We're going to say it's white's turn. And so white's going to say, ah, man, I'm really getting in trouble here. And so I'm going to go here. Now here's what's really cool about that is white goes here and gets to flip this one because it's between these two. And also this one because it's between these two. So you can flip in multiple directions at the same time, but it all has to be touching the piece that you just laid down. Okay, so black's going to be like, no, that was terrible. I don't like it. And so they're going to try to figure out, well, I can get two pieces here. They're going to take those. And then white's going to say, ha-ha, and take, take all these pieces here. And key point of strategy for the game is the ends are more strategic than anywhere in the middle, because once you get to the end, it's harder to flip these because you can't get on the top side of it, or you can't get over here to the left of it. So you can't flip them that. You can still flip some of these. The most strategic places on the board are the corners, because the corners cannot be flipped. Once they're a color, they're a color. And so they will hold that color and gives you a very strong playing position. So play like this until you finish it off, and then count up, did the good thoughts or the bad thoughts win? And then come back and just kind of make some points about it and say, you know, how many of you the good thoughts won in your game? How many of you the bad thoughts won in your game? You know what? That happens. Bad thoughts sometimes do win. But if you practice taking every thought captive and making it obedient to Christ. Say, Jesus, is this true? If Jesus tells you it's not true, say, Jesus, what should I believe instead of this? And then get a truth from the Bible or from a godly person, from your parents, that you can believe. And you know, if you don't know what's the opposite of the lie that you've been told, go ask somebody that you trust who knows Jesus and let them help you. So what you want to do is make sure that every time you have a bad thought, you're going, that's not true. No way, it's not true. Don't let Satan bring those thoughts into your head. Now, this is just a lesson. It's just a game, but the thing that we're talking about is very real. And combating those bad thoughts is something, if you can learn how to do it now and develop the skill to combat your bad thoughts throughout your life, it will put you in such a great place. And Satan will never be able to trick you, or very seldom be able to trick you, because you'll always know how to take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. I have a rhyme time for you today to help you remember the lesson. It is, whenever I have a very bad thought, I take it to Jesus, just like Paul taught. Whenever I have a very bad thought, I take it to Jesus, just like Paul taught. Teachers, try this out and give me some feedback. Put some comments in here. Let me know how it went, and if you thought of new ways to alter it. I think that would be fantastic, and I love to learn from you. Everybody have a great time. I'll see you next time.